got a storybook love, and it's all, and it's all.
Roy, are you here? Maybe. Oh, there you are, Roy.
Roy!
Hi,
Hello.
Roy, you look so different than when we saw you on that surprise visit. Wow, you look amazing.
Oh, you're just saying that because it's true.
So we're gonna, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself, Roy, because then the camera will go right on you and we can save it. And then we're gonna go back to Susan, who is, she's kind of talking a little bit about her experience as a 14-year-old at that house when David was actually living there. So go ahead, Roy.
Oh, well, what can I say about myself? I was never, I was a big fan of the Partridge Family, but only because I'm old enough to have seen it on television, as a kid. But but I probably wasn't as big of a fan as David Cassidy as most of you were. I was a bigger fan of Susan Day, so she obviously didn't develop the same type of fame. But I moved here to West Orange about 25 years ago to this Elm Street address, and at the time I had no idea that David lived next door at any point. As I said, I wasn't a big fan, but the neighbor that lived across the street, Ron Fay, he grew up in this neighborhood, and he went to school with David, and he was more of his brother's one of his other brother's age. But they used to play on the street here together. They used to play marbles, and so he used to tell all kinds of stories about growing up on the street with David living across the street. And that's how I found out that he lived in the house next door. And that answered the question for why there were always flowers being left in April on the on the lawn. There would be bouquets of flowers left on the lawn, and we never knew what it was about. One day Ron was telling me the flowers were for David. So.
Well, thank you, Roy. I think you'll find Susan's story very interesting. You'll see a part of the house circa 1970. So cool. Thanks, Roy. If you want to hang tight a little bit, maybe we'll get some questions in for you. But we're going to go to Susan. So go ahead, Susan.
Okay, so the we was me and my then best friend. We found the address of the house in a phone book in a drugstore. Now her father and grandfather agreed one day in November of 72 to drive us out there. We knocked on the door or rang the bell, I don't know what, and a woman came to the door. She claimed she was David's cousin or Evelyn's cousin. I really don't remember what she said. She said her name was Eileen or Ellen. I don't remember that either. But she said Evelyn was not home. Evelyn was in California with David. So we left. We were kind of disappointed. The following February of 73, we were off again from school, and her father and grandfather again agreed to drive us out there. We went to a little drugstore and we called the house before we went, and Evelyn answered. And we asked if we could drop off presents for David. And she said, oh, that would be fine if you want, So we went, we got to the house again. There were girls sitting all over the curb in front of the house. We walked right past them. And Evelyn came to the door. I can't even describe, first of all, what a beautiful woman she was. She was complaining, oh, my hair looks like a mess. I have no makeup on. She was beautiful. And you saw the resemblance of David in her. She was unbelievably sweet to us. She invited us in. She showed us the bottom floor of the house. We went and sat in her living room. We saw an award that David got that was on the piano that she said was a piano that he played when he was a child. His grandmother had taught him to play the piano there. Yeah, in that picture, that's her sitting in front of the same piano. It's in the same place, except the flowered wallpaper was taken down.
And you took that picture,
Yes.
correct, Susan?
Yes, I had.
Yeah, that's not off the
Yeah,
internet.
luckily I had bought my little Instamatic camera with me. She agreed, to take some pictures with us. And she sat and talked to us for so long that it was unbelievable. She looked through my scrapbook, which I had bought with me. She showed us David's prom picture was in the living room. We were sitting there. I was like, it just seemed unreal that we were there. We heard someone creaking down the stairs. The stairs were wood, and we heard this noise of someone like going very slow down the steps. I thought it was David for a minute. I thought, oh my God, he's here. But it was the grandfather, who I don't think was too awful happy that we were there. He was a little annoyed, which I can imagine with all the girls that were coming around. We went into the dining room where she showed us the dining room table was completely covered with gifts that had been bought for David. That stood from the dining room table. It had to be 3 or 4 feet high off the table. And we had bought gifts with us. I had crocheted him a vest, and I let her open it there. And my friend had crocheted I think a scarf for him. I don't even remember. But when we were sitting in the living room, we were gone for so long that her father and grandfather got a little worried, like, where were we? And the middle picture is actually my friend's grandfather, who just decided to go look for us and just walked into the house. And we were sitting in the living room, and Evelyn jumped. She says, oh my God, who's that? And it was him. So she agreed to take a picture with him too. And that was basically it. And after we must have given her our addresses, because about a month later, we got autographed pictures from David and from her, and a nice letter thanking us, for our visit. So it was a wonderful memory.
That is unbelievable that a mother could be so generous, and that's wonderful. Do you want to walk us through some of these pictures, Susan, that you have here? I'll show you what pictures we have, and then you can kind of collect, because I know that there's one here of the church that looks like it's either you people or
that was my friend's father and grandfather standing in front of Holy Trinity. We went over there. I think that was in November when we first went, and we didn't get to see Evelyn. So we just went over to the church and took some pictures. Yeah,
and then there's some other pictures. There's some other pictures that are more current that I took because, Susan, you only have the side view of the pictures. Mm-hmm. So, all right, so let's take a look at, I know some people are just joining us, and Susan Meade is doing her brush with velvet when she was 14, 15 years old, and went to David's house in New Jersey and had a 2-hour conversation with Evelyn. Yeah. So we're looking through some of the pictures now. So tell us a little bit about this picture where you're skulking off to the left there. And
yes, I was actually nervous to even stand next to her. And I stood away from her, and you could see she grabbed my arm and she said, come over here, get in the pig, but still I got cut out for the most part, but whatever. And then my friend's grandfather wanted a picture with her. And that picture of David on whatever he's riding, I don't even know, that was taken in the kitchen, because when we saw the kitchen, there was that tile wall. It was like a pale green tile in the background. And it was the same when we saw it.
And what happened? Did she just sit at the piano? Did she play anything?
No,
was there something she showed you?
She just sat there. She looked through my scrapbook that I had bought with us. She showed us some pictures of David that were in the living room there. And she asked us if we had been to the Madison Square Garden concert. And of course we had been, and just talked to us very sweetly.
So it's obviously the same piano that's in this famous picture of David and his father and mom.
Yeah, it's in the same place, I might add, of the room, because if you see in the old picture, there's a wood strip and it's on the wall there, but they just took the wallpaper down, but they left the wooden strip up.
Okay, interesting. Eileen, I saw you had a question. I thought was actually, I wrote a sarcastic answer, but I thought it was actually a good question. This is the church again. Oh, this is actually the inside of the church. I figured I had more recent
Yeah,
photos.
we didn't go inside the church when we went. We just took pictures on the outside.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And so this is the inside of the church. It's probably 3 years ago. It's absolutely beautiful. You guys can see the pictures, correct? Am I showing this right? Yeah, you can. So Eileen asked this question. In the chat box, she said, how the heck did you get in the house with all those other people sitting on the curb?
Clue. I have no clue. There had to have been at least, because it was a day off from school, there had to be about 12 girls sitting on the curb. Like I said, we just walked past them because we had already called Evelyn and said we were coming, and she said, that's fine. And we just walked past them and she let us in. Maybe she let a lot of girls in. I don't know. Because there was, like I said, the dining room table was covered with presents for him. So she might have done this all the time. But anyway, we were just very lucky.
Does anybody have any questions for Susan, especially if you were a latecomer or anything before we? Roy, what's your feelings on looking at some of these older photos of the house you live next door to right now?
Yeah. What year was that, Susan?
When we went the first time, it was November 72. When we actually met Evelyn, it was February of 73.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at the pictures. I mean, that the exterior of the house hasn't changed much at all, but the interior is a little bit different. Just in terms of the decor, but the setup of the house is still the same.
And Susan, this picture obviously is one you took of the house without you standing in front of it. And then which one are you? Are you on the right or the left here next to the staircase?
I'm on the right.
Okay. And then your friend that you went with, that the grandfather took you, is on the left. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are prized possession photos that you still have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the picture that Evelyn sent of her and autographed with David? Did you lose them? I think you had like a house accident.
Yes, my husband and I had over 400-page scrapbook of David Cassidy. Those were in there along with my concert tickets, everything I've cut out of magazines. We moved into our house. The very next day, the sewer backed up into our basement. And that was in a box that was absolutely destroyed. Yeah. Breaks my heart.
Gina had a question for you, Roy. She said, who lives in the house now? Can you tell us a little bit about the man who lives in the house now?
Yeah, the people that live in the house now, the family. They rent the house. The house is owned by a family, a husband and wife actually, who live in a Chinese family. They live in China now, but their daughter lives here in Jersey, and she maintains the house for them. And the folks that live there have rented the house for years. I mean, since I moved in, it's been 25 years. They've lived there, at least as long. The mom passed away a few years back, but the kids went to school with the two girls went to school with my daughters here in West Orange, and very lovely family.
Well, your next job for us is to get yourself in the house and walk around with a camera and take photos and video. So next time we have a meet, we can kind of look at it. And I'm sort of half kidding, but not really.
Yeah, I mentioned that to. I'm gonna try and that we have a local town historian that that I sent him an email to see if he has some back. He collects everything from town, so I'm sure he's got some information from when David was a resident here.
Thank you, Roy.
Yeah, Roy, I just wanted to add something regarding that with the historian, because that house looks like it hasn't been touched. And also, as some of you may know, Evelyn's history goes back to the beginning of her ancestors actually were the founders of Newark, New Jersey. So I think there's a way for maybe even that house to have a landmark thing, because David lived there. His mother's family ancestors were actually founders of Newark, New Jersey, and Newark, New Jersey is the largest city in New Jersey. And also I found, doing my research, I found a name of from the Civil War back then, Marcus Ward. And so I'm saying, oh, I wonder if this is related to Evelyn Ward. And it does say something about Newark, New Jersey regarding his background. So there's a lot of history there. So I think that house probably could become a landmark. And that would be awesome.
Can I say one more thing?
Please do. I was going to ask final
Two
comment.
more things. Well, I did end up meeting David in 1994 after Blood Brothers. But in my job where I am now, I worked with a man. I think I had told you this. And he mentioned casually that he came from West Orange. His name is Kevin Ennis. And I said, oh, wow. And I said, you know Ennis?
I know Kevin, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, his aunt was David's Sunday school teacher. And he just said it to me casually one day at work. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, my aunt taught him in the Sunday school. I said, oh, my God. I said, you know the Ennises.
Yeah, they grew up
Yes.
right down the street from me on Park Terrace. I grew up on Park Terrace,
Yes.
and Kevin and his brother Brian. Yeah, Brian was a West Orange police
Right.
officer, and his
Yes. And now I also work with the woman, and I'm sure I told Barbara this, Julie DeMassey. Her brother lives in Saratoga. He's mailman, and he was actually the person who went to the post office and picked up David's ashes and brought them to the racetrack to be spread that day. Yeah, I couldn't.
That's quite a story.
His ashes were actually sent to a post office.
Yes, they were sent on a plane to a post office, and he picked them up, and it said cremated human remains. And they were taken to he had to take them to the Saratoga racetrack.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Wow, Susan, you have a lot of connections with David, and we really thank you for
Yeah.
sharing them. I mean, I've been friends with you for a long time, and we've had lunch a couple
Yes.
times. And I didn't even know that one.
Yeah,
So
yes, yeah.
good for you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any final questions? I'm going to hit mute for a minute because my dog, that's named Cassidy, is barking.
I have a question for Roy. When we met you, Roy, you were telling us something about an empty lot, but you never actually, we kept interrupting you, and you never actually finished telling us something about an empty lot on your block.
Well, back at the time, there was an empty lot at the time where the boys used to play marbles. They had an open area in the lot there, and that's where my neighbor Ron would tell us that they would all play marbles in the lot. David was quite a good marble player, I understand. And Ron told a story. I guess that certain marbles are I guess in the game are considered very valuable, and David had a penchant for collecting all the most valuable marbles.
Wow. You know what? In one of David's songs, he actually mentions something about his father giving him marbles or something like that. I don't remember the exact line. Maybe someone does. But one of his songs, he does mention about marbles, playing them, or his father giving it to him as a gift.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool to hear that. And you had also told us that David had come and done a concert.
He did a performance several years back at the Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, which is an old famous theater in Millburn, Short Hills area. And Ron had gone to the he told us the story. He had gone to the performance and sent a note backstage. And when David got the note, he invited them backstage, and he said they sat backstage reminiscing about growing up in West Orange, and David was very accommodating. They had enjoyed several bottles of wine together as they sat and for hours and reminisced about growing up in West Orange. So Ron was he's a good guy, nice storyteller as well.
And this has just been incredibly interesting, and really happy that we met Roy when we went in August.
I would like to ask Roy, where he's got the Jensen name from, because it's a common Danish name.
My grandparents were both Danish. They were born. My grandfather was born in Denmark. My grandmother was born here in the Midwest.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Wow. See what a small world it is. Isn't that
Kelly,
Thank you so much.
Kelly, you need to do a 23andMe because you could be related to Roy. And after this meet, I wouldn't be surprised.
Are you Danish?
She's sitting
Kelly?
in Denmark right
Yes,
now.
I am. I'm living in Denmark.
Do you make any elderberry soup? I can't find anyone who makes elderberry soup since my grandmother passed.
Oh, I would like to talk to you about that.
Right. Susan Marie Meade, thank you so much. Let's give Roy and Susan a round of applause.
Thank you.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Thank you very much, both of you. Wonderful.
And Roy, I'll tell Kevin you said
By all
hello.
means. By all means.